Why do we use big baits? I'm talking big baits. Good morning, guys and girls. Good morning. December 17. Okay, we're going to look at again in Hebrews. Hey, boy, I talk about Proverbs being my favorite book of the Bible, but y'all probably think it's Hebrews. You know, I love Psalms too, and I love the Gospels, and I love the Old. I love them all. I love it all. December 17, Hebrews 13:2. By the way, y'all like my glasses? I was going to talk about this a little bit. Those are the new Jimmy Houston floating sunglasses. I don't know really what kind of price tag we're going to have on them, but those are floating sunglasses. So you know how many pair of sunglasses have you lost in the lake? Drop these in the lake, pick them right back up. They float. We should have some prices on them here pretty quickly. I don't really know how much, but they are absolutely fantastic sunglasses. Hebrews 13:2. Remember to welcome strangers. This is one of my favorites. Because some who have done this have welcomed angels without knowing it. That's that old welcome angels unaware, if you're in the King James Version. Welcoming angels unaware. Sometimes when people come up to you and ask for a little handout, or a lot of these stations you stop around on the interstates, these people will come up and tell you some sad story about trying to get back to Birmingham to see their mama who's dying, and they just need $5 for some gas and all of this. And I always just give them money, and I'm sure they live probably right around the street most of the time. But you never know. You never know, because it says right here. Hebrews 13:2. Remember to welcome strangers, because some who have done this have welcomed angels without knowing it. Oh my goodness. This is a hard one for me to get to. This devotional here really touches home in a big way. Several years ago, the Benefit for Kids organization contacted Chris and I about taking a little boy fishing who had been diagnosed with stage 4, and I can't say this word, myosarcoma, is a cancer, when he was almost 3 years old. Now, he had just been diagnosed with it, and they had called about me taking this boy fishing. He's 3 years old. 1, 2, 3. 3 years old. We were a little apprehensive about accepting the request because we didn't know if he was old enough to really fish. Chris and I talked about it, and she said, Jimmy, can he fish if he's 3 years old? And I said, they say he loves to fish. He might just be holding a cane pole and letting the bobber go under. I don't know. But, you know, we take a lot of kids fishing, and we've done a lot of work with St. Jude's, of course, raised millions of dollars for them, and the Brass Ring Society, Make-A-Wish, several different kids organizations, and this was Benefit for Kids. And but he was 3 years old, and I said, hey, if they say he can fish, he fish. Yeah, let's have him down. Was he old enough to really fish? Boy, were we wrong. Timmy's fishing ability and his desire to fish were unbelievable. Keep in mind, this little 3-year-old was terminally ill. We actually invited him and his parents back for a second trip just shortly before he died, and only 2 years after being diagnosed. So he was 5 years old when we invited him back. He was a terrific fisherman. What a blessing we would have missed if we had not had the privilege of meeting Timmy Larson. I remember we were fishing a tournament. He was from Michigan. We were fishing a tournament up at, I believe, St. Clair. And Timmy was in the hospital up there, and wasn't too far before we lost Timmy. And I went to the FLW people for the Fun Zone on that Saturday and Sunday, and I went around to all the booths, and I got FLW to give him a fishing rod, and I gathered up 2 big bags of fishing lures and goodies that we could take out there and give to Timmy. And I didn't get to go. I had to work, but Chris went to the hospital and visited little Timmy, and he had just thrown up on himself, and his mama was so embarrassed. But the little child was really sick. But she said that his eyes lit up when he saw that rod and reel, and she said he looked through the fishing lures, and yeah, this is nice, but that rod and reel, that FLW had given us to give to little Timmy Larson. And Chris said as she left the room, the last thing she heard little Timmy say was, "Bob, I sure love my fishing rod." He sure loved his fishing rod. And things like that are what God's all about. What a blessing we would have missed if we had not had the privilege of meeting Timmy. His mother called him her angel boy. I gotta agree. He was definitely our angel visitor. So, remember to welcome strangers. Remember to welcome little kids like Timmy and take them fishing. Because some have done this, have welcomed angels unaware. All right, here's our tip. Here's our tip. And I got this tip from Timmy. I sure did. Timmy liked big baits, and big baits are sometimes the key to catching big bass. Big bass. That's why you use big baits. And you know, when Timmy looked at our tackle box and started picking some lures that he wanted to fish with, that's exactly what he did. And I tell you how special that was to me when Timmy did that. One of the things I always did, my dad, and I've told this story before, my dad had one of those big Umco tackle boxes, about 5 or 6 trays on each side. You opened it up and it was like 4 foot across. It held 1 million fishing lures. And I would get out there and I'd open that big tackle box up, and it looked to me like a Bass Pro Shop in a tackle box, and we didn't even have Bass Pro Shops there. And I was 4, 5, 6 years old, and I would get in there and I'd get the biggest lure I could find in that tackle box. And I did it because I could throw it a long way. And my daddy would have to get way away from the bank because I'd throw it up in the woods, you know. He'd break it off and say, "Don't you tie on them big baits anymore." I'd get in there and try to find one bigger. But I knew, and that's what the first thing I thought about when Timmy got in our bait and said, "I like big baits." I thought about my dad, and I thought about him taking me fishing, and I like big baits, and Timmy liked big baits. And one of these days, I'm going to ask Timmy to take me to his favorite fishing holes in heaven. Guys and girls, go out there and have you a great one today, and remember, I love you.